Welcome to Storytime with Tallulah. Today's reading comes from r/ProRevenge. Our first story is titled Redneck Thinks It's Funny to Yank Out Mailboxes. My Dad Makes Him Pay. Disclaimer, this happened a long time ago, but still makes me giggle to this day. So way back in the day, mid-90s or so, my family lived in a log cabin on 10 acres of land in a rural area 10 minutes or so out of town. It wasn't totally the sticks, but you could definitely hear banjo music in the background sometimes. At the end of our nearly 1/4 mile long driveway was one of those roads that was almost technically a state highway. In the AM, I'd trudge down to wait for the bus. When I got home, I'd grab the mail and carry it back. Until one Monday morning when I went out and noticed the mailbox was gone. On closer inspection, looked like it had just been ripped out of the ground. Dad was obviously not pleased. He went to talk with the county sheriff, who happened to live a mile down the road. Turns out it had been happening up and down the road for months. Someone was tossing a chain over mailboxes and yanking them out with their vehicle. He suspected a guy down the road with his great big lifted 4-wheel drive truck, but couldn't prove anything. Usually happen on Saturday and Sunday nights with people finding out in the morning. Also seems the nicer the mailbox, the bigger a target, and many had been hit multiple times. People had tried digging deeper, using more durable wood, etc. The guy just took it as a challenge and ripped them out again. Soft, sandy ground, and his truck was a monster. Well, Dad said challenge effing accepted. A bit about my father. He's a steel worker with an engineering background and graduate degree, built like a bear with forearms the size of my frickin' legs. Most people looking at him would never think this monster of a man is also brilliant, but he is. The calm, cool type that almost never loses his temper, but wrong him and goodness help you. So Dad goes to Lowe's and buys the fanciest, prettiest mailbox they sell. He then proceeds to install it on top of an 8-foot long cylinder of 3-inch diameter hardened tool steel. But he wasn't done there. After digging down with post holers and dropping it in, he then filled it in with quickset concrete. To really sell it, he then used some strips of 1/2-inch wood to cover the steel core of his now indestructible mailbox of doom. Primed and painted them so it looked like a standard 4-inch post, and even had my mom decorate it with flowers and such. He wanted to be as tempting of a target as possible. Didn't even take a week. I went out for school the morning and found the mailbox right where it should be. Attached to it was a 30-foot chain and an entire hitch assembly, ripped right off the truck's frame, sheared the bolts. It was marvelous to behold. Sheriff gets called over, dies laughing when he sees it. He went to the house of the guy that was suspected and sure enough verified the damage to his truck matched. Fun fact, effing with a mailbox is a federal crime, as in you go to federal prison, not those cushy state places. Dad was unofficially rewarded by the sheriff's department with a few cases of beer and some venison. And after that, every deputy in town would flash him a thumbs up whenever they saw him. Oh my goodness. Edit. Apparently vandalism to mailboxes is far more common than I thought, and other people have taken similar measures. I guess great minds think alike. Edit number 2. As many have commented, apparently federal prison is actually a lot better than state. Didn't know that, sorry. Well, that's a funny story. Talk about karma, huh? Oh, that guy deserved it though, he really did. Our next story is titled, Roommate Thought She Was Sneaky, Ended Up Owing Me $400 and Got Suspended. So this happened my second semester dorming at my college campus. I had met my roommate at orientation and could kind of already tell she was going to be a pain in my butt. And I was right about that. I had planned on moving rooms to be closer to some friends the next semester. But let me get to the story that led to my revenge. On our campus, you had to pay for meals using your student ID, which had a certain amount of money on it each semester. You could also use an app that put your name and ID info into, and it makes it easier to pay. But the name and ID must match for it to work, which will be important later. Any funds from this fall semester would roll over into the spring, but then at the end of spring, it would just expire. Because of this, and because I only ate once or 2 a day, I had a ton saved up on my card. My roommate, on the other hand, did not, so I offered to pay for some of her meals from time to time in trade of her picking up the food for us, which involved her using my card twice in person, and then she'd return it. Then, one day I noticed on my app that my card was being charged even when I was not ordering food. And not just to meal, like a meal for several people. This meant that whoever was ordering, I wonder who, either had to have stolen my ID card, which I had in my pocket when I got the charge, or was impersonating my info in the app, which are both big no-nos on my campus. I was quick to put 2 and 2 together and was pretty upset. I was initially going to confront her on it, but decided to formulate a plan instead. That day, I went and ordered a second ID card for $25 to use for later. As it took a couple of weeks to get the new one, I let her charge several things to my card over a good 2 weeks, for her and her friends. And she wasn't very good at hiding it either, as they would come to our dorm and eat, while I just screenshot and sent emails to the support team of the app about the charges, knowing nothing would get done until I contacted someone in person. And one day it got even better, as you can buy groceries with the card off campus as well. She decided to pay for alcohol with my card, which doesn't get pinged as an issue on my card due to me being over 21, but she was only 19. Not sure how she got it, but it was just the thing to finally act on my plan. I put my best sad face on and contacted the head of campus living and head of my dorm about the charges on my account. I dropped some hints that it could be my roommate and mentioned I got a new ID and asked what I should do. I was told to order a new card, and once I got it, to deactivate my current ID and use the new one for purchases now, making my old ID have a balance of $0 and also to ping if someone uses it to buy anything. They also told me they would be visiting my dorm to discuss the issue with my roommate. I accepted that and waited. They sent the confirmation email that they would be visiting, and I just decided to add more fuel to the fire. My roommate was groaning about not having the funds for food in front of me in our dorm. I told her I really couldn't help her as I was running low on funds, and she kind of just laughed it off and left the room to probably go use my old ID. I deactivated my first card right after she left, and surprise, surprise, she used my info to pay. Except when she tried to pay for her and her friends this time, it was declined, and it pinged that my ID was used. Campus security was called, and she was escorted back to our dorm. Pretty much perfect timing for our meeting with the campus living. She was scared crapless when they came to the dorm to talk and look through her stuff. On her phone, still logged into the app, was my ID information and name, and in her dorm closet was a half-full bottle of cheap vodka, and on my phone was a screenshot of said unauthorized vodka purchase. In the end, she was forced to pay me back all the funds she used, in cash, reported for underage drinking, which automatically suspends you from campus living for at least a year, and would have on her record that she performed identity theft, which I also could have charged her for out of school. In the end, I got to have my own dorm for the remainder of that semester and even part of the semester after because it wasn't put as an available room for new dormers. I did get all my money back from her parents, who were so embarrassed and apologized profusely. And when she did eventually come back to campus, no one wanted to dorm with her because they knew she had stolen her roommate's ID. I think in the end, she rented off campus. Well, what do you expect, you know? It's, yeah, thieves are just not good. That's not cool. Like, what a turd. What an entitled little turd. Our next story is titled, Steal My Design and Get All the Credits? Enjoy Getting Kicked Off. So my friend over in Korea studies fashion design. She sometimes sends me over the sketches of the designs and they all look amazing. Then again, I'm not into fashion. She is particularly interested in designing handbags and purses. She told me a story about how she shut down one of the most entitled, self-centered, lazy students on campus. Cast: Grace, our main character girl. Jane, the evil one. Professor, the instructor of the course. Story: at first, Grace and Jane got along just fine. They were both interested in similar stuff and quickly became BFFs. Grace decided to show Jane her sketches and designs for handbags and purses, and Jane was so impressed by it. Because the sketches were in incredible detail, including all the patterns and sew lines coupled with figurative measurements. Even Professor was impressed by it, and it was no surprise that Grace got a high mark on their first major exam. Jane didn't do so well, and practically followed Grace everywhere to get pointers on how to do better, so Grace decided to help her out. Unfortunately, Jane turned out to be one of the most entitled, lazy, and selfish people that Grace has ever met. Things that Jane did to upset Grace off included, but not limited to, not paying attention, being late on their study session, never showed appreciation, didn't pay for coffee or snack, complaining annoyingly about how hard it was to draw something. Grace pretty much gave up on her after a week, refusing to meet Jane outside of her class. Time went by, and for their midterm, everyone in the class had to do a presentation on the stuff they had designed. When it was Jane's turn, Grace was shocked to see Jane had stolen one of her designs. Thankfully, Grace had multiple designs going on, so there were no conflicts when it was her turn to present. But she was seething with rage. Grace had a meeting with the professor afterwards, and the professor knew what was going on, but couldn't really do anything with Jane because it turns out she was the daughter of the chairman, or one of the major investors Grace said she can't recall. The chairman apparently blackmailed the professor into giving Jane the best grades. Oh yeah, that's that area for sure. The revenge. Professor did, however, help Grace devise a plan to humiliate and expose Jane. For the finals, the professor announced to the class they would do another presentation, but it would be 3 designs and advised they had to bring their A games because professionals from industries would be grading their work, and the head of the department and the chairman would be there as well. So you know how Grace had a bunch of sketches for the class? Well, Grace also had a separate sketchbook that had designs from major brands. MK, Coach, you name it. She never used these directly for class assignments, but rather as inspirations for her designs. Grace pretended to be all friendly with Jane again and brought the other sketchbook on their meetings, still putting up with all the problems mentioned above. Grace secretly worked tirelessly on her new design and did her best to keep it a secret from Jane. So the day of the final presentation arrives and Grace and Professor are grinning because they know what is about to happen. Grace went first and she got a lot of praise from the judges. After a few more presentations, the last one to go was Jane. Jane's presentation turned out to be another copycat, copying designs of not 1, not 2, but 3 different companies. After the presentation, this was how it went all down, at least according to Grace. Judge 1. So you were saying you designed all these by yourself, right? Jane. That's right. And you swear that it really was your design and didn't copy off from anything else, right? I swear. You are aware your designs are from 3 brands. Huh? Are you aware that these are on market right now and some of the most popular designs? Wait, hold on. Yeah, I was going to bring this up. If you had worked for any brands, you would have probably been fired or worst case, sued. But... Please, I am not done yet. Did you honestly think this would work? We, the judges, have been in the industry for over 10 years. We know a copycat when we see it. But these aren't even my designs. They're from Grace. To Grace? Is this true? Yes, but I'd never use them for major projects nor call them my work. I just use sketches of them as inspirations for my own designs. Well, that was clear from your presentation. Turning back to Jane. Now, Miss Jane, this is a clear case of plagiarism, and I do hope your school is merciful on this matter. After the presentation was over, the chairman screamed at the professor in front of everyone, not realizing he just revealed all the blackmailing and the secret grade deal. Jane tried to call out Grace on how you screwed me over, but it really didn't matter. No one listened to Jane's attempt at slander and was kicked out of the school. Chairman pretty much lost all support and had to resign and was replaced by far more honorable and competent one. Oh, that sounds like a K-drama. Edit. It's only been 3 hours and I only got a silver. Thanks guys. For everyone that's saying this sounds like fake webtoon K-drama plot, I just said that. Let me tell you, that crap like this, it happens all the time in Korea. But most of the time, victims tend to just swallow the losses and try not to make a big deal out of it because they don't want the infamy of all drama that it will release. If you think gossiping and fake rumors were bad in US colleges, wait until you see what happens in Korean colleges. Besides, the plots of webtoons and K-dramas are often based on or inspired by real-life events. I also forgot to add that Grace passed with flying colors and was recommended for an apprenticeship/internship over at Paris, but due to COVID-19, it was canceled. Oh, that's unfortunate. It does sound like a K-drama though, but I know, yeah, over there it's it's politically social stuff. It gets kind of crazy, especially if you're from like a North American perspective. You're looking at it like, what? That's not ethical. It doesn't matter. That's the norm sometimes in other places. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you enjoy these types of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell for notifications. Thank you all for your continued support. It means a lot. Also, if you would like to join the Discord, the link for that's in the description below. We have an amazing community full of awesome people. And if you'd like to follow me on any of my other social medias on the internet, the links for that is also in the description below for you as well. Anyways, hope you all are staying safe out there in these crazy times. And with that being said, we'll see you next time.